spins a web any size, catches thieves just like flies. Look out, here comes the Spider-Man.
Hello and welcome to Amazing Spider-Man Classics, in association with SpiderManCrawlspace.com. My name is John Wilson, and with me tonight are Spider Jeopardy author Josh Bertoni.
You can buy my book on Amazon.com. If it doesn't show up in the search engine, well, pooey to you.
Also, we have Batman and Simpsons guru Don Grant.
How y'all doing?
And of course, I want to remind you that Amazing Spider-Man Classics is brought to you, as always, by Roll2Play, your online vendor for games and gaming accessories. This last month and through Valentine's Day, they are offering a 15% off discount on all Steve Jackson products, featuring the line of Munchkin card games. And also they have a Munchkin bobblehead for all you fans of the games out there, because it's dangerous out there, and you need a buddy. So the Munchkin bobblehead will watch your back during your adventures, nodding encouragement to help you through the tough patches and congratulating you on your treasure. So that is available at Roll2Play.com. You can also find the store on Facebook if you search Roll2Play, all one word, spelled with the number 2. This is episode 25 of the show, guys. Quarter century old. Check it out. Not only is this the 25th episode, but in this episode and the next, we are going to be drawing the curtain on Steve Ditko's seminal run on Amazing Spider-Man. And to commemorate that event, we have with us a special guest co-host. This man has been a supporter of the show from its inception, both friendship-wise and through giving the show's website a great Spidey-centric look. Let's welcome my brother, Jim Wilson, to the show. Yay!
Hey, everybody.
So devoted to the show that he changed his last name to match his favorite host.
Right.
I love you, John.
I love you too, Jim. Jim is nearing the end of visual design school and has a website of some of his work. So if you want to go over there and take a look, he is at JimWilsonDesigns.com. He has a great imagination and a great eye for designs. And we're glad to have him on the show.
Oh, thank you. The website needs an update, but there's some cool stuff there, I think.
Before we get into the books that we have for us today, why don't we take a moment, Jim, and tell us a little bit about your history with comics and how you got into them. I know that I already know part of this story, but everyone else doesn't. And also Spider-Man in particular.
Did you mention in that intro that we're brothers?
Did I?
Yeah.
He did.
He did.
Oh, okay. Well,
We're
yeah.
still brothers, right? I mean, like even now, 5 minutes later.
Well, they didn't know this when they met because John was saving Jim because he was prisoner on the Death Star, and they kind of had this will they or won't they thing for a few years, but then, they had to tie everything up, so they found out that they were brothers.
Yeah, there was a little bit of romantic tension early on, but once we found out the whole sibling thing, that was...
Yeah.
John is my brother.
But you kissed on Hoth. That was weird.
Yeah. You think it was weird.
He's such a scoundrel.
Who's scruffy looking?
Hey now, I shaved it.
So we already have incest.
Well, Spider-Man was one of, if not the first comics I ever read. Our dad, as you know, had those little paperback collections of the first 20 or so issues of Amazing Spider-Man, and he gave those to us, and that was sort of our introduction to comics. And around that same time, the Batman movie came out, and I became obsessed with Batman then and since. I don't really follow Batman like the monthly book anymore, but he's my favorite superhero character, and I'm always looking for the trades. As for Spider-Man, I've mostly kept up with what's going on with him through you and the stories that you thought were interesting and told me about and suggested that I read. But again, I don't really follow monthly books very much.
So what are some of the books that you're currently following? You're not really into superheroes as much. You do a lot of the other kinds of titles, right?
Yeah. There are a couple. Well, Hellboy, I don't know if you consider Hellboy a superhero or not, but I love Hellboy. I love Mike Mignola. Also, Madman by Mike Allred. Not a traditional superhero book, but it's excellent. I mainly go for art. I love Doug TenNapel. He's best known as the creator of Earthworm Jim, but he has a whole series of self-published books that he writes and draws, and they're excellent. Anything by Ben Templesmith. He's most famous for drawing 30 Days of Night and Wormwood and stuff like that. And then I love the classics like anything by Neil Gaiman, The Sandman, Alan Moore, all that stuff.
Okay, well, good deal. Yeah, you actually have turned me on to some artists. I know that Mike Mignola is a name that I learned through you. I've since come to recognize his work and some other stuff. He did some Superman work. I don't know whether he's done any Spider-Man or not.
Ooh, that would be cool to see.
But I know he's done some Superman. There's a 4-issue mini from the late 80s called Cosmic Odyssey, where Superman and Martian Manhunter and one of the Green Lanterns and several other characters go off to stop basically the universe from being destroyed. And it's a pretty good story. It would be one of those you could just throw away and never think about, except that the Green Lantern is so cocky in that an entire planet ends up being destroyed because he thinks he can handle something, and then suddenly he comes up against it and it's yellow, and so he can't. And that character, Jon Stewart, that scarred him for life. And I heard someone else say that there are events in that story that are feeding into recent Green Lantern events with the whole Blackest Night thing that went on last year. So, and then Mike Allred, I saw, you had the Madman stuff, but you and I, around the same time, found his X-Force stuff.
Yes.
From the early 2000s, and I really liked that. I know that a lot of X-Force fans at the time hated the transition, but I really liked that run.
Yeah, it's really good stuff. I think I benefited from not really having much personal investment in all the billions of X books that were out at that time. So when they took one and just totally, fracked with it, I was okay with that. One other thing about our Spider-Man history, I think it might be important to note that when Todd McFarlane started drawing Spider-Man and got his own book for a little while, that was a really big deal there in the early 90s, and definitely caught my interest for the character.
Yeah, he started right before we started collecting. I was able to get back issues of his Spider-Man series, because I think we came in when issue like 6 or 7 was new, and I was able to go back and get that first 5-issue story, which his storytelling is not the best. He actually only lasted like 13 issues on that book before he quit. I think he went off to do Image at that time, or maybe that was later, I don't know.
And his Venom drawings were just insane.
Yeah.
The way the jaw would come like 3 feet out from his head.
And, coming from Steve Ditko art, being our only Spider-Man, to go into the comic book shop and picking up new Spider-Man and seeing Todd McFarlane on
it blew our minds.
And Eric Larson on Amazing was also really good at the time. And Sal Buscema on Spectacular took me a while to grow out into. I don't know if you've ever looked up his name
Eric Larson was drawing Amazing?
Yeah.
Doesn't he do Goon?
I don't know if he does do. He's the guy who does Savage Dragon.
Oh, okay, no, different. I think.
Well, cool. Well, yeah. Your interest in Daredevil is one of the reasons I thought it'd be cool to have you on for these 2 episodes, because in addition to the Spider-Man 37 and 38 that we're going to be doing these next 2 episodes, there's also Romita's debut on the character in Daredevil 16 and 17, which ran concurrently. So we're going to be looking at, in this particular episode, the books that came out in March 1966, which are Daredevil 16 and Amazing Spider-Man 37. And then we'll do the other one of each series next episode. We will not be covering your emails this time around, but do continue to write into the show, and we will be reporting on your reports of our reportings in a future episode.
That's a nice way to say it, because we don't have any emails.
Exactly. Shh, you weren't supposed to tell them that.
I got something from a Nigerian prince again.
Oh, did you? That Nigerian prince with the really awesome grammar? Okay, so starting out, here we are with our comics for the evening. First up is Daredevil 16. Now, just setting the stage just a teeny weeny bit here, Johnny Romita has been providing art for this book since issue 12. He had some help from Jack Kirby for the first few issues. He's done a couple on his own. And at this point, the way I understand it, things have gotten bad enough between Stan Lee and Steve Ditko that Stan is seeing the writing on the wall. So he has Romita give his hand at drawing Spider-Man in the Daredevil book. And that way, if it sucks or Johnny hates it, then hey, it wasn't in Spidey's main title, so no big loss. But as it turns out, Romita was awesome on Spider-Man, and we'll see what happens next as we move along.
I heard something slightly different. The way I understood it was that because Daredevil's title had a rotating list of artists anyway. It had Wally Wood, Joe Orlando, Jack Kirby, as you said.
No one stayed on it for very long. We're 16 issues in, and the book's had 4 or 5 artists.
Yeah. I thought that Romita was just another Daredevil artist, and because it was an issue with Spider-Man, he was you worked on Spider-Man, you know basically how the character is and how James Jonah Jameson, Aunt-May, and Peter Parker are. So he put them on ASM. Not specifically, he put them on Daredevil to try him out for ASM, but that could very well be the case. I don't want to contradict that because I've just not heard that, but
Well, your idea might be more consistent with other reports that Steve Ditko's departure was completely unexpected.
That's the main thing I heard. I heard basically he came in one day, turned in his final issue, said to whoever was in the office, I'm guessing it was Flo Steinberg, said, I quit, and left out the door. And then Flo Steinberg spat out her coffee and said, Stan, come in for a minute, please. But who knows?
With her Betty Brant hair.
Exactly.
John Romita is also a lot younger than all of those other artists that you mentioned that had been, because those guys all worked on EC Comics, 15 years earlier.
Right. Ditko had been, at this point, been doing art for over 15 years. He was about 40 years old.
Romita had been in the game. He mainly worked on romance artists at the time.
The romance books. I think he was kind of bored with romance books, though, before he got brought over to superheroes.
He was good.
He was bored on romance books, so hey, let's put him on Daredevil.
So let's put him on Men in Long Underwear.
Oh, Foggy! Oh, Karen! Oh, Matt! Oh, Foggy! Oh, Karen! Oh, when is Mr. Murdoch gonna propose to me? Karen, will you marry me? Oh, Mr. Nelson, I'm in love with Mr. Murdoch. Why doesn't Karen love me? Yeah, let's put the guy who's tired of romance books on that book.
He does have a really appealing style for drawing faces and human characters, so I could see how he'd work really well in romance.
A lot of very longing faces. Kind of weird. Longing, like single-tiered, like nurses and stuff. I've seen some covers. I've not read that much of his romance stuff, though I'd love to. But definitely, it definitely, you can see why he would be there.
So being that, however it was, we can only guess and tie together things we've heard. Daredevil 16 was released on March 3rd, 1966, with a cover date of May. The cover has a gray cityscape in the background where high up and two bold color figures are Daredevil leaping to attack Spider-Man, who is mid-swing on his web. I'm guessing it's an attack. It could be a love leap.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. Spider-Man's fist is like, why I oughta.
Yeah, but that's kind of how things run with romances in Spider-Man. But the caption...
He's got lube on that fist.
Which is helpful because the caption reads, Enter Spider-Man. Wow.
This podcast has been rated R.
Yes.
It is not for general audiences.
Well, we know that's not what they meant, or otherwise this would never pass the comics code, right?
Well, here comes Daredevil.
The man without fear.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Open up to the splash page, and we have Spider-Man up on a wall with Daredevil throwing his billy club. It hits the wall just above Spidey and ricochets. The captions read, Daredevil, the man without fear. Enters Spider-Man, also introducing the mystery of the masked marauder.
Who is a Bugs Bunny cartoon.
Was this his first appearance?
Yes, it is. He's a Bugs Bunny cartoon character?
Well, there was a Bugs Bunny cartoon where Bugs Bunny actually played the masked marauder.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I guess we know where Stan was watching that morning. It's kind of cool that Spidey's here at the beginning of the Masked Marauder story because we're going to be coming back to Daredevil at the end of the Masked Marauder story because Spider-Man's in that issue as well. And another caption reads, Another minor masterpiece in the mildly magnificent Marvel manner. Sagacious script by Stan Lee. Phantasmagoric inking by Frankie Ray, née Jacoya. Lachrymose lettering by Artie Simek. Nuff said.
Wait. Phantasmagoric penciling by John Romita. Iconographic inking by Frankie Ray.
You are totally right. I wrote it down wrong. So
you condensed those two into one.
I did. I totally nixed Johnny Romita, the whole point of the story, out of the credits.
Who drew this again?
Why, Steve Ditko, of course. Excuse me, Jack Kirby.
Yeah.
I don't really know why they list Frank Jacoya as both his real name and his pseudonym here. That's a little weird, but oh well. Because his real name is Frank Jacoya, but he went by Frankie Ray for a little while.
But that's strange because there's a lot of pseudonyms in the comic art, especially around comic world, especially around this era. With Stan Lee and Jack Kirby are pseudonyms in and of themselves.
I know, but it says both. It says Frankie Ray, née Jacoya. Like
I'm asking why would they put down both identities? It's very strange.
I don't know. It's weird. But anyways, we open with blind lawyer Matt Murdock, who's blind, in case you didn't know. We
Can he
saw
see?
him. No, he's blind. He's blind to everything around him, including the love of his blonde secretary.
Well, I hope that nobody's like insensitive to him by saying, "Oh, there's something awesome on the TV. Too bad that you can't see it."
They're just
That
letting
would
you-
be insensitive.
Hey, Matt, let's go to the circus. A purely visually stimulating form of entertainment.
Would you like to know anything what's going on in the circus, Matt? I mean, you are here, sitting next to us.
No, just don't mind me. I'm the little blind guy. So,
Yes.
we had seen him in the issue we're referencing, issue number 16, and then once or twice briefly, I think, since then, like a panel or two. He is secretly Daredevil, in case you didn't notice, and he's in his law office with partner Foggy Nelson and pretty blonde secretary Karen Page. They're watching a news report of Spider-Man fighting the Masked Marauders gang. Evidently, though, they're still photographs. It's not video footage, which is kind of strange to show on television. But they mutter about how Spidey always has a photographer nearby. And Matt fills in the irony gaps by thinking, so many of that web-slinger's exploits have been photographed. You'd almost think he sets up an automatic camera and takes the pics himself. Oh, come on, Matt. You've been reading too many fantasy stories lately.
Amazing
Oh.
fantasy.
Thank goodness for that psychic blind spot. It's
God.
retroactive.
Radioactive?
Retro. So, they're watching coverage of a Spidey adventure that has happened off-page, and the conversation turns to who is more awesome, Spider-Man or Daredevil. Foggy says some rude stuff about Daredevil that upsets Karen because he has saved her life before. And Foggy gets all mopey about Karen being less impressed by him than by Daredevil. Many thanks, Marvelite, for staying with us during the Hearts and Flowers portion of our yarn. But now your patience is about to be rewarded as we visit the mysterious Masked Marauder, who's this guy all dressed in purple, including a purple mask helmet job with a black visor over his eyes. He's
And a
kind of
purple
pissed.
hanky in front.
Yeah, curtain.
hanky. Well, it's purple now. It'll be white next episode.
Yeah, which makes it look even funnier.
I know, right? So he's kind of pissed about Spider-Man getting in his way. So he has a bunch of flunkies dressed as Daredevil to distract Spidey from his next caper. One of them
Of course. It's brilliant.
One of them walks out saying he doesn't want to tangle with Spider-Man, so the Marauder temporarily blinds him for his and sends out the rest of his gang.
That.
Daredevil blind.
I didn't even get that. He's now blinded as fake Daredevil.
You'll get it next issue.
Awesome. Sometime later, an amazing figure swings effortlessly amongst the towering rooftops of the world's greatest city. But his spider sense warns him to dodge a billy club launched in his general direction. He turns and sees Daredevil, but when he gives chase to find out what's going on, Daredevil disappears around a corner. He is actually one of the thugs, and has ducked into a truck, signaling the Marauder that he's found Spider-Man. And at the Mystery Man's headquarters, the Masked Marauder alerts the other fake Daredevils in the area. But what about the real Daredevil? Let's visit Matt Murdock and find out that he's finishing up work for the day and getting ready to respond to reports that Daredevil had been spotted in the city. Because obviously if he's at the office and he's hearing about Daredevil out there, something's amok and he needs to find
As Karen Page is like lying down on the
Yeah.
desk, like unbuttoning her clothes, saying, "Oh, I sure wish somebody would love me." Well, good luck with that, Karen.
I can't see you because I'm blind.
Oh, Matt, you big goof! Can't you even take a hint? Why can't he feel about me the way I do about him? Won't he ever ask to date me?
Karen's been
given
going to the
anything
Betty
else,
Brant
Karen
School of
outside.
Acting.
Yeah, it's the exact same person.
It's lonely being a legal intern.
I know,
She's
right?
not a legal intern. She's a secretary who becomes
Oh,
a
that's
stepper and
That's
junkie.
better.
And that's not a Josh Bertoni making stuff up for the sake of making it up. She does become a porn star and a junkie.
Yeah,
Does she?
yeah, she does.
You don't know.
She does.
Aren't you the Daredevil fan? Yeah.
No, we read Daredevil before this happened.
Oh.
Was it the beginning of the second series and she shows up on Matt's doorstep strung out?
Well,
It's
I mean,
Born
in
Again,
the 80s and Born Again, that was when like
She's a porn star who is a heroin addict and sells Daredevil's identity, which she found out, to a flunky who gets to the Kingpin, who subsequently destroys Matt's life. Spoiler alert.
In the early 90s, either Karen was off the page or had gotten her life
Oh.
straightened out temporarily.
Yeah. When I started reading Daredevil, he didn't know who he was and was living in Hell's Kitchen. And I don't remember. It was a long time before he got back to being a lawyer.
Oh, that was after Born Again, I think.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
after Miller did Born Again.
Okay.
But
well, I have gaps.
we didn't really know what all had happened in the 80s and the early 90s because there was no easy way to find out.
Yeah, that was before the internet.
We started reading, the first Spider-Man comic that I bought was cover dated November 1990.
Yeah.
God.
I started buying Batman comics in November of '89.
Yeah, when the movie came out.
Yeah, because the movie came out that summer.
That would have been around like the Brayfogle Alan Grant days, I believe.
Yeah, we had the trilogy right before Tim Drake puts on the costume. We had the trilogy, it's the Scarecrow trilogy leading into that.
Nice.
I think those were our
nice.
very, very first Batman comics.
Where the homeless people are disappearing, and they try and feed Vicky Vale like a dead rat or something.
Yeah.
That's also when they started that awesome Legends of the Dark Knight series.
Yes.
That was all short story arcs out of continuity. That was good stuff.
Wasn't it short story arcs? I guess it could be out of continuity, but they were like in early Batman's early in his career.
Yeah, it was hard to know whether they were in or out of continuity. I think Legends of the Dark Knight had that problem for a lot of its run.
That's probably true.
When some stuff got
some of them
integrated.
were like Venom. Like Venom was in continuity because that set up Nightfall.
Yeah, Venom, like, when Venom came out, though, I don't think it was really intended to have, like, this big influence on the series, but then later on they incorporated into the series and Bane and all of that.
Oh, no!
So speaking of Daredevil...
Is that what we're talking about?
We always do this.
Page.
So Daredevil is swinging out as the real Daredevil, and as he's doing so, Spider-Man spots him with his spider signal, and he isn't happy, having been hounded and hassled by more fake Daredevils in the meantime. He is past the desire for rational conversation and begins throwing insults and punches at the Crimson crime fighter.
He's so mad he's talking in yellow.
I know, right?
Well, that's because he says in the yellow bubble that he liked the yellow costume better.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It matched his yellow streak. What an insult that is.
Oh. Daredevil is surprised that Spider-Man is suddenly so hostile to him, just, out of nowhere. But it isn't long before he starts giving back as good as he's getting. And as you might imagine, the sight of two swingers like Dee Dee and Spidey battling on the rooftops is apt to cause something of a stir. And so a police officer down below is calling in for a riot squad. And in another part of town, the masked marauder sets Plan W into motion. He leads his purple costume gang to the World Trade Center, where he plans to steal the plans for the newest, most powerful auto engine ever.
Wait. Are you serious?
Yes.
It's not the World Motor Center?
Did they change it later? Because I thought it was World Trade Center at the first.
It was World Motor Center's the entire story I had.
Yeah.
I see motor centers.
Oh, he leads his purple costume gang to the World Motor Center, where he plans to steal the...
Sorry.
If this is Plan W, does that mean Plans A through V were just so bad and such failures that we didn't even bother to hear about them?
I think Plan U is the one that Spider-Man was messing up in the opening newscast.
Well, it's W for World Motor Centers. Like, it's kind of like Sesame Street.
Don't give a simple in the box explanation, Josh.
That's not how comics work.
That's not how comics work. But anyway, so yeah, he's stealing an auto engine. I hope he has something more impressive planned after that, because
not even the engine, plans for the engine.
Just the plan.
Yeah. He didn't have his The Way Things Work book at home, so he just went out and stole.
Very nice.
This is where the carburetor goes, and
I mean, don't they have backup plans? I'm
not going to go into the details of the heist, so I can talk about that more in the notes if anyone wants to. But suffice to say, it goes off almost without a hitch. There's a security guard at one point where they take care of him, and the masked marauder rejoices in his own awesomeness at keeping Spider-Man and Daredevil distracted. Changing scene back to the fight, we get the standard Daredevil inner monologue. Oh, I wonder what his reaction would be if he knew he was mixing it up with a sightless man. Because that's irony. And Spidey is beginning to have second
That's not irony, that's curiosity.
No, that's like out of nowhere. He's like, if I hadn't rolled with his punches, it would be all over by now. And then he's thinking, I wonder what he would be thinking if he knew he was fighting a blind guy.
Yeah.
Like, it's talking about mind wandering.
It's like, I wonder what Jim Wilson would think if he knew that I had brownish black hair.
So Spidey's beginning to have second thoughts about all this when Daredevil tags a pole behind him with his billy club and then begins swinging around and around, wrapping Spidey to the pole with the rope from his club.
Awesome.
Now Spidey will have to tell him the truth, because everyone knows that if you're tied up in Daredevil's club, you have to tell the truth.
Wow.
It's the club rope.
That's the kind of club Daredevil runs. Daredevil takes the time to tell Spidey off and get away, and then Spider-Man breaks free almost immediately, but Daredevil...
But he does say, if you've anything else to say, write a letter. Words that he'll regret in a few issues.
Oh, yes, he will. Oh, I didn't write anything down about that. We're going to be sure to remember to talk about that. But not right now. That's next issue stuff. Spider-Man breaks free almost immediately, but Daredevil has gotten away. So Peter Parker shows his face at his 2-story frame house in Forest Hills the next morning to his doting Aunt May. She's been slacking, evidently, on the early morning breakfast preparation. And she's noticed that Peter won't do it for himself, so now she's up making oatmeal. Peter eats and goes to the Bugle, where Jonah bawls him out for missing the Masked Marauders heist the day before. Peter immediately suspects Daredevil of intentionally diverting him with their fight. And Matt Murdock, seeing the same headlines, gets the same suspicion of Spider-Man.
He can't see the headline.
Oh, yeah.
He hears about it. Extra.
Touches it.
No, he hears a news guy yelling.
Looks.
Going back a page, you guys see how pretty Peter Parker is?
And
I was about to say, this is the first time that John Romita has drawn Peter Parker, and he is quite a looker.
Yeah.
So, he's a handsome man.
I guess those clubs.
I agree with Liz.
Nice. Well played.
And so, Matt Murdock, not seeing the same headlines, gets the same suspicion of Spider-Man. We learn from the Masked Marauder that the theft of the plans was only the first step in his master plan. He could sell them, but he won't. Yet. And finally, our story wraps with Spider-Man swinging through New York trying to get a spider-sense lead on the Marauder. But instead, he senses Daredevil nearby. He gets to the office of Nelson and Murdock and attacks Foggy Nelson, accusing him of being Daredevil. Dun dun dun!
Yeah, because that guy's not like fat and out of shape and short or anything.
No, right?
And then Matt says, he actually thinks Foggy's me. My poor bewildered partner hasn't a chance against him. I can't stand idly by while Foggy's in danger, but I can't help him without revealing my secret forever. Which,
He thought that really quickly. Because
while Spider-Man was punching Foggy in the face.
and hanging him out the window, as we're going to see next episode.
Real quick, I guess this could be in the notes section. Like 2 pages before that, when they're reading the newspaper, Daredevil helps Masked Marauder, possibly, and Matt says, "There's no way Daredevil could do it. He has no connection to the Masked Marauder. He just possibly can't." Foggy says, "How do you know?" He's like, "I don't know." It's like, I just have a hunch. That's all. That was like really crappy storytelling.
Blind man's intuition. See, if he uses like his handicap as an excuse, everyone will be like too uncomfortable to call him on it, because like no one wants to say blind men don't have intuition, because then it's like
just see, there are some things I can see, Foggy.
Everyone knows blind men tell the truth.
Uncomfortably quiet after that.
You want to go to the circus? Oh, never mind.
Hey Matt, how many fingers am I holding up?
And he does the Spock Vulcan salute, yeah.
Or the finger. He just puts them
Yeah,
on.
or the finger. Okay, so I really liked this issue, actually. I know that Daredevil is so dramatic and melodramatic and over the top in these early days, but I thought this was a great story for both Daredevil and Spider-Man.
I concur.
Although, if you go to the opening pages where they're watching the news, those first drawings of Spider-Man I'm not super keen on. Especially the one where he's just looking at the camera at the last panel of the page.
Hi, I'm Spider-Man.
He's like, that's Peter's own camera that's taking the picture, so he just like looks at his own camera and waves and keeps going.
He's got like very small eyes in that one.
Yeah, and the webs are funky and the head is the wrong shape. I don't know, it's not great, but it gets better as you go through.
You can tell it's Romita trying to do what he thinks he should be doing. I mean, it's Romita handicapping himself for the sake of the image, and I mean, I agree it's not the best, but I'm not gonna fault the guy.
The splash page does not look like traditional Romita Spidey. It looks more Ditko than Romita.
Yeah. In these early pages, he definitely looks like he's trying to do Ditko, I think.
Ditko had a lot more webbing on Spider-Man's costume, and Romita, his webbing was a lot more broad and less detailed. That's how you can tell right away.
Are we also talking anatomy or just the actual details of the design?
Design, yeah. Not anatomy this time, John, so calm down.
I meant like, the way his body is shaped and posing and everything. Isn't anatomy the term for that? or physiology or something. I don't know.
Yeah, the pose on the splash page is somewhat awkward for John Romita, Spidey's pose.
Yeah, but he definitely improves as he goes through.
Yeah, certainly.
There is a part on page 4. I think that as I read through Marvel Comics, sort of in publishing order, you'll see words that will show up in every issue that month. And page 4, panel 5, at the bottom where Marauder's telling his Daredevil gang to go, he's thinking, what a perfect plan. So satanic, and it's sheer simplicity.
I remember that.
And I remember when I read this, there were like 3 other books that month that also had the word satanic in it. And next month we're going to have another one. I'll wait for the big reveal next episode.
That's a great, so satanic and it's sheer simplicity. That's the best thing ever.
Because Satan loves simple. He's very into the feng shui.
Satan's a Quaker.
Heard it here first.
Yeah, he's all about being upfront with things, and not long and drawn out.
Right.
Matt finds out that Foggy's in love with Karen for like the 9th time in the series. One thing about early Daredevil is, here, let me go to the page. He says, if I ever doubted how Foggy feels about her, it was just spelled out for me now. Every few issues of early Daredevil, Matt would realize for the first time that, oh my gosh, Foggy likes Karen too. Like, there's one issue where Foggy's kind of being flirty, and Matt thinks, he likes Karen, this is going to complicate things. Then there's another one where Foggy comes into the office with an engagement ring, and he's like, I'm going to give this to Karen. And Matt's like, no, he's in love with her too?
This is totally going to mess up the relationship with the girl I haven't asked out yet.
Not asked
Everyone knows that
out.
blind people have Alzheimer's.
Not asked out, proposed to. Within the first few issues of the series, they're both thinking, not how am I going to date Karen? How am I going to propose to Karen? And Karen's thinking the same thing. She's like, why hasn't Matt proposed to me yet? And it's like, 'cause you haven't dated yet. But that's how it was in those early
Silver Age Marvel's Guide to Women. Meet them, ask them to marry you.
Oh.
They got their lessons from
You want
Lois
to go
Lane.
get some coffee or get married or something?
I mean, when you think about it, Ned Leeds, took his sweet time with Betty Brands. I mean, good lord.
Right.
Comparatively, yeah.
It was like their 4th time to be seen together in the comics whenever he proposes to her.
I know. I mean, she wasn't getting any younger.
Page 7, the last panel, Spider-Man shines his spider signal on Daredevil. And there's going to be a letter writer who calls him on the fact that Daredevil, instead of looking towards Spider-Man's voice or toward where his radar sense tells him Spider-Man is, he looks toward the wall where the spider signal is displayed.
Which
And the explanation that they give in response to the letter doesn't even make sense because they say that the light is shining and that's a heat source that blazes like an inferno for Daredevil. But no, this is reflected light. And yet there's a little bit of heat there, but the much bolder heat source would be the source of the light, which, again, would be in the direction of Spider-Man. So,
well, looking at that panel, I don't see a contradiction. His head is towards the light, but, I mean, that just happens to be where his body is facing.
In the dialogue, it's not explicated that he is recognizing the light. So, but I think it's another artist/writer discrepancy. But I think that Stanley covered his butt pretty well in the panel, not the letter. I don't know what the letter says.
Yeah, and the letter, there's no need. He says Spider-Man, and he sounds mad, and after he hears the sound of Spider-Man's voice.
I don't know. It looks to me like he's looking at the signal. But
Daredevil's also not, casting a shadow in that light.
that's true. That's shining around him.
He's not lighting
because
fire.
that's because the bulb in the light is made from unstable molecules.
Because Daredevil's blind.
Yeah, everyone knows that blind people don't cast shadows.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to get a letter from this. You guys are dicks to rape victims, wives, women in general, blind people. And we're like, yes, we are.
We hate all people equally.
Like Nora Winters.
The battle between Spider-Man and Daredevil in this one, I think the one in the next issue, I like the fact that they kind of really, it seems that whenever Spider-Man goes up against somebody in these early issues, it's always either to a standstill or he's always like, wow, this person's strong. My punch and webs don't even phase him. But this one, I kind of like how they really make a point to say that Daredevil can barely stand up against him. He's always going as hard as he can to not get completely killed, and even in the next issue, just dodging and rolling with the punches completely wipes him out. And he really makes a point that in a straight up fight, he can't last very much against him. This is carried over way into the 80s in the Sin Eater arc with Peter David Speck Spidey, and it's used to great effect, I think.
Yeah, no, I definitely. I mean, you expect thugs to be surprised by Spider-Man's strength and they get knocked out and everything, but to have another superhero acknowledging that Spidey is a pretty powerful guy, I like that too.
Well, Daredevil just has normal human strength. so Spidey would be a hell of a lot stronger than he is.
Yeah.
That's always I always like that about Daredevil. He has all these amazing abilities, but none of them enhance his fighting ability whatsoever. It's all I like that quite a lot, and which is why on page 15 when he wraps Spider-Man around with his cable rope, I thought that was pretty cool. I like the way he did that. I already thought he did some, and then he just jumps off the building and swings around. I thought that was very inspired.
And the art's great too. I mean, that scene, that big panel on page 15.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I was like, wow, look at that. That's pretty awesome. But then Spider-Man just breaks it all and goes home.
Yeah. Speaking of pretty Peter Parker, we do get to see how John Romita takes his hand at some of the supporting characters of Spidey's book with Aunt May and Jonah. And while I'm partial to Steve Ditko's Jonah, just because that's one I grew up with, and that huge-ass grin that he has in the 17, 18, 19 trilogy, that's just part of who Jonah is to me. But I do really like John Romita's Jonah as well. Probably my second favorite.
Romita's Jonah is almost always his teeth are almost always clenched.
Right.
Which I think he was looking at Ditko when he did that, but it's a very Romita distinctive thing, and I think it's really great. He's also been quoted as saying that he tends to give people like toothpaste smiles, as he calls them, because they're always like smiling. I guess they look like toothbrush ads or something like
that. Right. And in the Daily Bugle scene, there's no Betty Brant present, so this story slides in nicely between the issues that we've been reading.
Thank God.
Well, if Betty and Karen Page were ever in like the same place at the same time, the Silver Age Marvel might explode.
Yeah. Like, oh, hi, my name is Betty Brant. Hi, my name is Karen Page.
It's like, have you ever seen that episode of Family Guy where Lois's father-in-law and Lois's father and the family doctor in like the same place at the same time?
I'm not seeing that.
I haven't seen that either.
Both of the characters have the exact same voice, and they basically the show called itself on that, like when they had them appear. I don't know. I ruined the joke, but yeah,
it's okay.
I like that when they go on that heist and they use that goofy pipe that comes out of the van.
The hydraulics.
They just magically shoot up. Yeah,
I know, right? There's like no way for that to be stored in the van, but suddenly it's there.
I can imagine that in a cartoon. The whole misunderstanding, like two Marvel heroes each think that the other one's evil and they're fighting each other. I know at this point in 2011 it's a cliche, but I think at this point in 1966 it's a cliche.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially with Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Now, Spider-Man has mostly been in his own book. Whenever he runs into other people, it's been in his own book. He's only appeared very briefly in other places, with Strange Tales Annual #2 being a big exception to that. Mm-hmm. So this is the first time that we've had a major significant Spider-Man appearance in another book. I guess we did the Avengers #11, and there was a lot of Spider-Man art in that, but it wasn't really Spider-Man.
Who can forget?
Yeah.
The epic Avengers #11.
Stupid robot. But anyway, so yeah, we get somebody else handling Spidey in a major way for, a very early occasion here. And I think it's done really well, both character-wise and art-wise.
I'm looking at this, and while it's obviously very clearly John Romita Sr., I think when he got onto ASM, his Spider-Man was a little more altered, because this one looks a lot more Ditko wannabe than his stuff in ASM 3, 9, and 40 did to me, anyway.
He has that really dense web pattern, like someone mentioned.
Yeah, the eyes, the head, and the web patterns are the ones. Otherwise, it's a little larger and a little more laid back in the web. It'd be a Romita one.
I think Romita is better at posing Spidey than Ditko is. I know that's probably blasphemy, but...
Sacrilegious.
Well, that's the reason that you went with Romita art for the page instead of Ditko art.
Yeah, I don't know if the listeners would be interested in this, but for the website, I went through the first 20 issues of Spider-Man, and I realized that Ditko doesn't really find his stride in drawing Spidey until the annual. And in all the issues I looked through, I had a hard time finding an iconic Spidey pose. And so I ended up going to John Romita.
That's very true. That's very, at least with his people, John Romita. He's pretty much consistent 100% of his career. I mean, I think my brother said that he prefers John Romita's Peter Parker to his John Romita's Spider-Man. If he had to choose, he would pick, I think, either Bagley or Ditko or John Romita Jr.'s Spider-Man, but he would go with John Romita Sr.'s Peter Parker, which is pretty classic design.
Oh, I have a question. Has Spidey quit wearing glasses by this point, or does John Romita just not draw them?
Yeah.
Okay.
They got busted up in an early issue, and then he decided never to wear them again.
Pretty much. His glasses got punched off. He's like, huh, what do you know? I don't need these. Flash Thompson, that's it!
Exactly.
You brought... Boys! What'd I tell you about fight in the science room? Here's some boxing gloves. Fight in the gym.
Poor Peter Parker.
Don't fight around the science.
No, please, avoid the science, please.
Don't break the science.
Yeah.
Oh, here's the thing. On page 5, Spider-Man is alerted by quote-unquote Daredevil's presence by a billy club being thrown from an upper position down to him, but he goes back and sees that the quote-unquote Daredevil is, like, below him.
Oh, a little inconsistency in the angles there, yeah.
Ew, that's not right. Yeah.
Wait, are you nitpicking on a comic book podcast? What the hell?
I'm not nitpicking. It is wrong. Wrong.
Worst issue ever.
It's pretty straightforward. I mean, I think this is, if you were to, like, stereotype comic books, this is a very... I think heroes bumping into each other and saying, wow, you're a D-bag, and fighting for no reason is a very typical Marvel thing to do.
Yeah.
While the bad guys get away with it. I think this is it's good. It's well done with the scripting and everything, but it's very typical.
Isn't this why he fought Giant Man? Like, it's the same plot. Like, it's like, if I get Giant Man and Spider-Man pissed off at each other, everyone will be distracted and I could rob this thing. It's the same plot. And that's where I was like, if I can get Daredevil and Spider-Man pissed off at each other, everyone will be distracted and I can rob this thing.
That's because Masked Marauder is Egghead.
Okay.
Just kidding. No, he's not. But you can't tell because he's masked.
He's more like goggled and veiled, really, but...
It's
Purple's
like
a very threatening color.
Yeah.
It's one of those veils that the dancing girls wear in the old Lawrence of Arabia movies. I don't know. Anyways. Yeah. So instead of looking at the letters page in this issue, I pulled letters about this issue that were published a few months later. Bruce Long will say that I have nothing personal against Steve Ditko, but the most sensational coup which Marvel could perform would be to let Johnny Romita draw Spidey regularly.
Stan wrote that.
I have never seen a more vibrant, powerful, or majestic Spider-Man, and never a more realistic Peter Parker. So please, for the pure good of Marveldom, give Spidey to John Romita.
Romita wrote that.
Yeah. Eddie Birchmore says that John Romita drew Spidey like he'd been drawing him all his life. Don Fisher says something that made me go, huh? While writing an extensive critique of John Romita's Spider-Man art, he says, I do not claim that Mr. Ditko has not drawn him in the same fashion, but as Mr. Romita will be doing the strips in the future, let's not see his prowess pushed beyond the limits of even a spider's powers. So what's that all about, with him knowing that Romita was going to be doing the strips in the future?
Maybe Steve Ditko told him he was leaving. He let the cat out of the bag.
Were there fanzines at this time?
No, they might just be speculating.
You know, if Steve Ditko left after he handed in the art for 38, like, that could have been weeks or months before.
It's possible the information got out there somehow.
Yeah.
I think it's just speculating, like, you know, that Romita will be... Heck, they're probably... They could be talking about the next issue.
I don't know. I mean, like, people were saying that, Ditko leaving Marvel was so catastrophic to Spider-Man. I mean, everyone wondered how he would survive. So I think that if it was so damning to the book, Stan would try to keep it hush-hush.
Yeah, probably.
Read the quote again, where that makes you think that the information got out. Because he could just be talking about, like, when Romita draws something again the next issue. Because everyone knows that it was a cliffhanger.
So he's writing his letter about 16, so 17 hasn't come out yet. And he says, I do not claim that Mr. Ditko has not drawn him in the same fashion, talking about a criticism that he has. But as Mr. Romita will be doing the strips in the future, let's not see his prowess pushed beyond the limits of even a spider's powers. Now,
I don't know what that means.
Yeah, there's nothing in there that...
I just thought that as Romita will be doing the strips in the future. It doesn't really matter. I was just wondering if y'all knew of anything that I didn't.
Let's track this guy down.
Another comparison between the art styles, though, is in the paneling. Like, Steve Ditko does those really dense layouts a lot of the time where the pages are, like, really crowded. And in these, they feel a lot more open. Is anyone else noticing that?
Yeah, in fact, that's one thing that I've noticed about Romita's art in general is that he puts fewer panels on the page and just lets the pictures expand more. Reading a Romita issue of Spider-Man from, like, 1968 or 9, goes by a lot more quickly than a Steve Ditko issue from 1964 or 5.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, these things are going to be easier to recap.
Yeah. There's just not going to be as much going on because we'll have 4 panels on a page.
I think that the panels are. I don't want to say that they're like today where there's literally 3 or 4 panels a page, but like the art is a lot. The figures are a lot bigger and the art's a lot clearer. That's just a fact. I'm not saying one artist is better than the other, but just the fact that it's a lot more easier for your eyes to instantly recognize than Ditko stuff.
Yeah.
By nature of the design.
So we're going to leave the resolution of this story for next episode. After our break, we're going to come back and take a look at this month's issue of Amazing Spider-Man.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Boys and girls, your attention, please. Presenting a new exciting radio program featuring the thrilling adventures of an amazing and incredible personality.
Faster than a speeding bullet. More powerful than a locomotive. Able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. This amazing stranger from the planet Krypton. The Man of Steel. Superman.
The Thrilling Adventures of Superman. A journey through the golden age of the Man of Steel in comics, radio, and film. Available at GreatKrypton.com.
Okay, welcome back. We are now going to be looking at Amazing Spider-Man 37, which was released a week after Daredevil 16 on March 10th, 1966, with a cover date of June. It's a key issue to the overall plot of the series and is Ditko's last big stamp on the larger mythos. And taking us through it will be Joshua Bertoni.
Oh yes, Amazing Spider-Man issue 37, and as the cover says, once upon a time there was a robot? But not just one robot, as the cover sees, there's 2 robots. So technically that covers a lie, because once upon a time there was 2 robots. Split down the middle of the cover, we see Spider-Man fighting one green robot with tentacles in a fire, and then Spider-Man fighting a more traditional metallic robot shooting lasers at him.
Frickin' laser beam!
And looking over those 2 pictures is a bald guy wearing a big robotic-y eye patch.
Robot Master, which is
So we get to the splash page where I heard you guys mention Spaceballs before I got on. Does anyone remember the scene of Spaceballs where Darth Helmet is like playing with his toys?
Yes.
So, Princess Vespa, at last I have you in my clutches to have my way with you, the way I want to.
No, please, leave me alone.
No, you are mine. Not so fast, Helmet. Lone Star.
Lord Helmet, what? You need it on the bridge, sir.
Knock on my door. Knock next time.
Yes, sir.
Did you see anything?
No, sir. I didn't see you playing with your dolls again.
Good.
We cut to Peter Parker, who has just completed his action figure collection. He's got a Gwen Stacy, a Patch, a Mendel Strom, and I don't even remember the name of. I think his name was Max, Strom's henchman.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Max Young.
Yeah. Ned Leeds. I bet you that Peter likes to make the Ned Leeds action figure break, and he torches it a lot.
Died of fire.
The 2 robots. What I'm guessing is a Frederick Foswell action figure. It's a variant of Patch.
What do you think makes the Spider-Man figure and the Gwen Stacy figure do together?
Oh, nothing.
He probably likes to do bad things to the Gwen Stacy figure too. He's not particularly fond of Gwen at this point.
What does it do with the Gwen Stacy figure and the Norman Osborn figure, do you think?
The same thing.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh my. Well, then there's the Jonah and Norman Osborn figure. So yeah, he's playing with his toys. He's marveling at his completed collection. And we get the title again. Once upon a time there was a robot? And Stan says, we hate to brag. He's lying, by the way. He loves bragging. But this one's a doozy. Edited and written by Stan Lee. Plotted and drawn by Steve Ditko. Notice plotted. Mm-hmm. Lettered and cherished by Artie Simek. All right, so let us go to the state prison where Professor Strom is ending his 10-year sentence. The guard tells him that he's been a model prisoner, but Strom's thought balloons are a little more revealing. He's been secretly planning revenge the whole time. Strom is picked up by his former cellmate, unaware that another former cellmate who's our old friend Foswell, is observing this as well. Ah, but what's this? The observer has become the observed. A thug sees Foswell and moves in to kill him.
I actually found that sequence kind of confusing. I had to read through it a couple times.
Yeah, me too. I was like, is that Foswell? I was really confused.
But watching Foswell, watching Strom is. However, before a shot can be fired, a punch goes to the assailant from Spider-Man. Whoa there, sonny boy. In case you didn't know it, this is a no-noise zone. Spider-Man? And I wanted it to be a surprise. Okay, talk. Why'd you try and ventilate Foswell? I said talk. I didn't mean any harm, honest. I just hoped the professor would let me join him if I proved I could be useful. You're gonna be useful, all right? Follow me, mister. And then the next panel, Spider-Man's
wearing your little hat.
I know, like wearing a little fedora in the backseat of this guy's car, and he webs the guy to the driver's seat.
I would love to see him do that, like on a Spider-Man show. He punches the guy out, puts him in the hat, and then, like, while he's keeping eye contact, he just very slowly and methodically grabs the guy's hat off of his head, puts it on his own, and then they go about their business.
It's Spidey After Dark. So webs the guy to the car and says, we'll use your car to tell the professor and see what he's up to. And to make sure you don't get any foolish ideas, I'll web you to the seat. Now get going. But exactly 30 seconds later, a police car following us. They couldn't have seen me. And you're not speeding. Use your spider power. Get rid of him. You got to.
Yeah,
Well,
what's the spider power going to do here?
he doesn't know. He
He has
has
no clue.
So it turns out that the cops are only after the car because it's stolen, and Spider-Man's decided that he's had enough of this madness and decides to swing away. Too bad that he's lost Foswell. Actually, lots of people seem to be losing Foswell. Nobody seems to be able to find him, including Jonah. Jonah's in the middle of the Bugle office screaming, "Where's Foswell?" And nobody in the Bugle has seen him. So that's the theme of this issue. Where's Frederick Foswell? Peter comes in, observing the fact that Jonah has yet another new secretary. He wants the money for his last set of photos, but Jonah has no sympathy. For if it wasn't for Peter and his foolish love triangles, Betty wouldn't be gone and Jonah's records wouldn't be all messed up, a fact that Jonah is very, very quick to remind Peter of. Just then, Foswell, found at last, comes in and tells Jonah that he suspects the recently released Strom is of planning revenge and that there may be a story. This intrigues Peter, who slips a spider tracer into Foswell's hat.
Again.
Yes. I know. The last one, its juice ran out. We briefly cut away to Strom, who is in his lab, telling his henchman Max Young that he won't need him again until his robot is finished. He vows revenge for, quote, the man who cheated me out of my inventions, unquote.
This sounds like Lex Luthor.
Kinda.
Talking about Superman. He's been, in prison all this time now. He's going to get revenge on this one man who's ruined his life and cheated him out of his success. I don't know. With the baldness, it just, said this is Lex Luthor. And the way he was talking about the person that isn't revealed yet is what I would imagine talking about Superman.
Well, I can imagine both Strom and Luthor saying, "Leave me to my science. I must claim my revenge."
Complete with, henchmen. I guess
Otis.
Max. I know. I was thinking Max is very Otis-ish. I don't know why. I think
Mr. Strom, I'm sorry.
Maxburg?
Sorry, Superman the movie, all over the place. Let's go.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes, and let's go, and go we will. Because while the professor plots, Peter Parker heads for school as usual, and he sees Gwen Stacy wearing red yet again, because that's her only wardrobe. Peter wonders if Gwen Stacy, spelled Stacey, because, you gotta add an E to the blonde classmate's name sometimes to confuse things. If she's still mad at him.
Which panel is that in? Because I have Stacy.
It's the first Gwen panel on page 5.
They corrected it again.
What are you doing, Essentials?
Yeah.
Okay.
They corrected it for the Essential.
Lady
in red. Sorry.
Gwen slaps first.
Gwen slaps first.
I wonder if Gwen
hair
Stacy's... they're the hide her devil horns. Actually, they kind of look like devil horns.
Yeah, sort of
Yeah, they do.
Came out of nowhere.
If she thought losing the headband would help her bitch image, those clips aren't, they're not fixing it.
No, they're not.
Yeah, well, there's only one way to find out if Gwen's still mad at him, so he runs up to Gwen. Hi, Gwen. We're both heading for the same class. Mind if I join you? What are you doing, Mr. Parker? Slumming? Usually you're too stuck up to say hello to anyone. Peter, who's had enough of crap from everyone in his life at this point. Well, at least I'm not a temperamental female who drews over a fellow one day and then acts like an icicle to him the next. Drat! That crazy temper of mine. Now I've really put my foot in it. And Gwen's face.
She's like,
Oh, I never.
And her face is tingling.
Oh, what?
what did you say to me?
If this was like a cartoon, like the red would slowly rise up her face like a thermometer, and like steam would come out of her ears.
Yeah.
There's definitely a "oh no, you didn't" somewhere in here. I know.
Even if you are ESU's newest science scholarship whizkin, nobody talks to me that way. As she raises her hand to like claw his face or something. Come on, Gwen, simmer down. Let's bury the hatchet, huh? You think you can say what you want to me, then ow! As she moves in for the slap, and Peter blocks her with his hand. Anyone ever tell you you're gorgeous when you're angry?
No. Anyone ever tell you you're gorgeous when you're angry?
Oh, no.
Now, I gotta hand it to Peter, because, I mean, he's actually...
This is awesome.
He's being pretty rough with her, but being pretty smooth about it at the same time, and trying hard to turn her anger around.
No, he's walking into this, and like with each word, he's making it worse and worse for himself.
Well, like, who cares? I mean, seriously, like, Gwen has acted nothing but shrewish to him, so he's like, I don't care, you're hot, so, just calm down, we have some fun together.
We can channel that energy to other directions.
Well, he's basically saying you act like a bitch one day, then you're all hot over me the next day, and then he's like, let's forgive each other, don't hit me. He's like, ooh. Actually, you're kind of hot when you're trying to kill me.
Gwen knows she wants it, though, and she's like, I hate him, but I love him.
If Flash
so
Thompson.
she's asking for it? Is that what you're saying?
This is like, have you ever seen the end of season 1 of Cheers where like Sam and Diane are just like arguing with each other?
Isn't that all of Cheers?
Yeah, fair point.
Let's roll with that because I've not.
Yeah, no, they're really going at it, and then, like, they're arguing, and, like, just insults upon insults upon insults, then, like, finally...
I always wanted to pop you one. Maybe this is my lucky day, huh?
You disgust me. I hate you.
Are you as turned on as I am?
More.
Then they make out. That's kind of where I see this going, but it doesn't go there because Flash. Hey, what's going on there? I saw that, Parker.
And instead of just like letting him add in the fun, they're into a confrontation.
I know, like, so I saw what? Saw Gwen try and attack him, and Peter like block her blow.
Well, yeah, I can see. Okay, she goes to slap him, but he actually puts his hand up in the way, so he's deflecting her blow, which is a physical act, and maybe Flash is choosing to misinterpret it. I don't know. It's a little weird.
And Flash is just an idiot.
Yeah. I know. Those Brady little pig eyes of yours never miss a trick, Flash. I'll make you eat those words, you puny punk. Come on, put up your hands. Oh, if I only dared just once, but with my spider strength, I'm liable to accidentally hurt him, no matter how careful I am. Sorry, Flash, I just can't let you do it. If you damage my profile, half the girls of ESU would be heartbroken. We can't let that happen. You yellow fink, I knew you chicken out. Oh, let him go, Flash.
Respect.
Okay, doll.
Peter's so smooth in this scene. Respect.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, Peter's like striding around the college, like, yeah, that's right. This is like, it's like he has the black costume from Spider-Man 3.
He just needs to give things.
It only took me 37 issues, but now I got game.
Yeah.
I really like that Gwen picture, the third panel of page 6.
Oh,
Doesn't she look like Billie Piper in that picture?
A bit, yeah. Yeah, she does.
I like her eyes.
I like how Flash is like totally hard for Gwen here. That's why he's coming to her defense, and she doesn't really get it.
Because he's going to hit her too without the dialogue.
Yeah.
Gwen, if I ever catch you talking the puny Parker again, to the moon. Okay, doll, but if he bothers you again, just let me know. So then, like, they're in the science lab doing some science stuff for their science class, and Harry tries to get on Gwen's good side by, saying, I kind of hate Parker, too. And Gwen's like, oh, you haven't any use for anyone who's smarter than you are, Harry. Peter's never bothered you. If I was Harry, I'd be like, my gosh, there's no pleasing this woman for anyone.
So if you want to make a woman start liking you, just, block her slap when she comes at you and tell her she's gorgeous when she's angry, and she'll start defending you from now on.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, against a white guy with cornrows.
That's awesome.
Against in a bow tie.
The bow tie is what seals it, man. That's Harry Osborn in a bow tie.
Oh no.
So as they leave class, Flash once again threatens, "Don't remember from now on, stay out of my way." And Peter just does another pithy comment back at him. So Strom sends his completed robot to the victim's lab. We don't know who the victim is yet, just that it's some guy who screwed Strom over. And the robot is the green one from the cover that has... It doesn't even look like a robot to me. It looks like a giant amoeba or something.
It looks like
the amoeboid robot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Strom is wearing a big eye patch electrical thing that's helping him control the robots. So it's attacking this place, and Spider-Man tries to stop the robot and the fire that it's now caused, but he's surprised by the robot's strength. It squeezes him so tight that the only way to get loose is to use the flames from the fire to loosen the robot's grip. Instead of trying to now stop the fire and stop the robot, Spider-Man decides that he's just going to, get out of this place. So people see Spider-Man leaving the building, which is on fire, and wouldn't you know it, they assume that he started the fire. Yuck, yuck, yuck.
He just can't catch a break.
Back at the lab, Strom gives some exposition about his next robot, which is going to be even more powerful. But who was Strom's victim? And now, we've got a small-scale surprise for you. Remember Harry Osborn, one of Peter Parker's nastier schoolmates? He's the least nasty of the schoolmates, though.
I don't think so. Harry Osborn's been pretty jerkish these last few issues.
This is the most annoying.
Of the three schoolmates that, that are actual characters, aside from Sally Green, we've got Gwen, Flash, and Harry. You really think that, Harry is nastier than Gwen and Flash?
I think Harry is nastier than Gwen,
the entire class has been on Peter's case, and, Harry has been a standout.
Yeah, he's been a Flash copycat for so long, for so far.
He's Flash's parent. So we get Harry with his bow tie next to the guy who's been in the background of many of the Jonah Country Club scenes, who has Harry's haircut and a green business suit.
Green.
Very
like money.
Like money.
Green for the money and gold for the honey.
At least his dad has the sense to wear a decent tie.
Yeah. I don't get it, Dad. Why would Spider-Man try and burn down your plant? And we're going to have to get JR in for some ADR on this episode to do Norman's voice.
I don't think that's going to happen, so go ahead.
I'm aware. I feel like the fake Jason from Power Rangers, but...
Nice reference.
Yeah. Don't believe everything you hear, Harry. It wasn't Spider-Man. Someone else was behind it. But who? None of your blasted business.
Jeez.
I can't tell the kid how I cheated Professor Strom out of his inventions and then railroaded him into jail when he began to threaten me. It has to be Strom who's after me.
He's thinking this. He's not saying it out loud.
Well, I know, and it looks like he has little sweat drops on his forehead when he's thinking
Yeah,
it.
he's stressing this.
Or it could be the fire in the background, though.
He could be going crazy like he does whenever he transforms into the Goblin.
Yeah, Norman Osborn not sweating is a pretty uncommon thing in the 60s.
Wouldn't it be something if Spider-Man is trying to work a protection racket? Harry, don't you ever shut up!
And we get some. It's kind of cool getting our first Norman Osborn personality we've seen on the page. We never really. I mean, he's only done throwaway lines so far that really anybody could have said. And we also, with this whole Strom reference, we get the first hints at the Goblin origin that we're going to get in a couple of issues.
I find it interesting that the first time you see such a major character in Spider-Man is with Harry. A guy, really, Harry Osborn and Norman Osborn, in some ways you kind of think of them as separate characters, just who just kind of look alike.
Because they are separate characters?
Okay, hang on. You don't really think of them as much by their relation because they're so known by what else they've done.
Independent from each other.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So I find it kind of interesting that you first see... I mean, it makes sense that they would be introduced Norman would be introduced with Harry, but it's also interesting with hindsight considering the character's histories later on.
I guess that's more true for you, Don, because you've been reading Spider-Man longer than I have. Well, you've read more of Spider-Man than I have, because the Green Goblin is Norman, and Harry's a supporting character, and then Norman dies, and then now Harry's having issues, and so for 20, 30 years, Harry Osborn is the Osborn, and Norman doesn't come back until after Harry's dead. And it's only been in the last couple years of comics we've had Harry and Norman on the page together. But I've only been back into comics for the last couple of years. So I see Harry and Norman as being very joined together. It's like I don't think of one without thinking of the other.
Well, their legacies are very joined, because a lot of what Harry has done as a character has been driven by Norman, even when Norman was dead. There's like that scene in Spectacular Spider-Man 200 where he's talking to Norman's portrait.
Right, well, that whole storyline, who was writing that? Michelini?
DeMatteis.
DeMatteis, I get this too. That whole storyline that DeMatteis did in the leading up to Spectacular 200 was, Harry went crazy again because Norman started talking to him. Oh, the voices!
It's time, Harry. It's time.
They could retcon that. Because now we know that Mysterio was involved in faking Harry's death. You can, retcon that. All those times that Harry was seeing those voices and everything, that it was Norman using Mysterio to manipulate him. I mean, I kind of like the idea that Harry went crazy, but, if someone wanted to retcon that, it would not be difficult to do.
This be true.
Although then you'd have to say that Mysterio knew who Spider-Man was, because that was some of the hallucinations that he would see Peter Parker unmasked as Spider-Man.
And that would make sense because I think Mysterio could be able to find out who Spider-Man is just based off Amazing Spider-Man 200 and all that.
Until the mind block.
Yeah.
Until the yeah.
But anyways.
Yes. Well, back when things weren't mind blocked, J. Jonah Jameson ran onto the scene. I was at our club when I heard the news. Don't worry, Norman. Spider-Man won't get away with this. We're not sure he's the one, Jonah. I'm sure, and J. Jonah Jameson is never wrong about things. I suppose your insurance will cover the damage, eh? Yes.
Wait, my insurance? It's your car. Your insurance should pay for it. Sorry, that's Back to the Future. Go ahead.
That one I got. But if it looks bad, if the attacks continue, they won't renew my insurance. We've got to do something. That's a smart boy you got, Norman. I like the way he sums up a situation. He'll go far.
He said something completely and totally useless, and Jonah's praising him.
I know, that always, even when I was younger, I was
We've got to do something! Wow.
Is this the first insurance argument in superhero comics?
No, I don't think so. Well...
Yeah.
Maybe Jonah's being condescending. Oh, wow, that's a smart boy you got, Norman. I like the way he sums up a situation. He'll go far.
He should. Yeah, that's a very odd panel.
I'm trying to think. Insurance scams have been a standard thing for a while. Health insurance would be new at this point. But property insurance, I think, has been around for a few decades at this point.
But I don't understand. I thought that Norman was filthy rich and he made Donald Trump look like a penny pitcher. Why would he have to worry about insurance?
Oh, here we go again. I don't know.
Yes, you don't.
I just think it's funny that they're sitting around arguing about insurance.
I just love how Harry, how Harry's like, yeah, Dad, I agree. Shut up. From now on, it's canon for me that Jonah's being condescending to him. I like that interpretation much better.
Jonah's making fun of Harry.
And
Osborn's reaching for his belt.
Yeah. All right, Harry, what did I tell you about embarrassing me in front of fellow club members? Oh, gee whiz, Dad. Bend over and grab your toes. Well, Spider-Man realizes that Straw must be behind all this, so he goes to trail Foswell, but Foswell has already left his apartment, disguised as Stooley the Patch, leaving behind the hat with the tracer, because it doesn't go with his Patch outfit. Spider-Man sees Patch and is like, can't find Foswell, might as well follow this guy. Which luckily he does because Patch finds the lab and is surprised to see Max and the new robot, which is a little more robot-y. Spider-Man sees this and is none too pleased about having to fight another robot. Watching unseen, Spider-Man throws a tracer onto said robot and then jumps into action, but Max and the robot trap Spidey and Patch into a locked room. Luckily, there is an oddly shaped air shaft for Spidey to escape, but, leaves Patch there saying, don't worry, just use that gun that they dropped if they come back.
Right.
Don't. And look at that air shaft. What is that?
It's a window, I guess.
It's like the size of a child.
It's not. It's more than an air shaft. It only has little bars over it. Usually, air shafts have some sort of vent grating or something.
It's sunlight.
Maybe it's a Jeffries tube.
Okay, sure.
Okie dokie.
That's my Star Trek explanation.
Well, the robot attacks Osborn at his office, with Strom speaking through it, telling Norman that it'll destroy everything he loves. His science! And no mention of his son or anything like that, or of Gwen.
My inventions? They're my life's work.
Then I'll destroy... No, not my inventions! Take Harry! Not actual dialogue from the book, but it could be.
He's worth much more to you than to me.
Spider-Man finds the robot thanks to the tracer and begins to engage it. Osborn silently curses Spider-Man for ruining everything by saving him. He also notes that Spider-Man is becoming too dangerous in his plans. What could he possibly mean by that?
What plans could this man with the strange hair have?
So, during the fight between Spider-Man and the robots, Osborn, hiding behind some stuff, sneaks up behind Spider-Man, punches him in the back of the head. Now's my chance. He was too busy to pay attention to me, and the robot hasn't seen me yet either. If that blow didn't finish him off, I'll let the robot do the job. As for me, I've got a lot to do now, as he runs out of the lab.
So he thinks he killed him because he punched him in the back of the head?
Yeah.
Well, technically, he does have superhuman strength.
Well, that's not established for a while.
Yeah, that's true, but it could be like a backwards Untold Tales-esque retcon.
Yeah. So the robot assumes that Spider-Man's dead because of like a gas leak. Seriously. And he's like, oh wow, Spider-Man must have fallen down because of a gas leak.
Some poisonous vapor must have gotten him. I am an idiot.
Yeah, I like how the robot actually has a personality, conscious, and thought process, which are wrong.
Oh no, that I assume that was Strom, like.
No, you're right. It's Strom.
Okay.
So he wrecks more of Osborn's science and then leaves. Spider-Man awakes, wondering why he was spared, and decides to look for the robot over at the hideout. Spidey fights the robot, who is in the control room with Strom, Wizard of Oz style, and Spidey smashes the robot so it fires its control panel. So it fires at the control panel, severing the Strom's control over it. That's too many times to say control in one sentence, but I didn't know how else to describe it. So Strom holds the robot's head and uses it kind of like a gun to try and get Spidey, but Spider-Man wrecks that too, and Patch comes in holding Max at gunpoint. So it looks like that's wrapping everything up, except we see a gun coming through the high open window. I can't take the chance of him spilling the beans about me, thinks the unseen figure.
Crime Master.
Yes, that's right. There's too much at stake. I've got too much to lose. And then Spider-Man's spider sense starts tingling. My spider sense, it's tingling! A gun at that window! Look out! As he pushes Strom to the floor. Another second would have been too late. He's all set to fire. Whoever it is, I can't let him get away. As Spider-Man leaps to the window as Strom goes, oh! Spider-Man looks out the open window and sees nobody. And he's looking all around the immediate area. There's no one there.
Okay, now before we go on, let's talk about this whole scene with Strom dying here.
Okay.
Spoiler alert.
Okay, the next panel, he's dead. Okay, so let's look at this scene with Strom dying. First of all, minor note, Spider-Man's spider sense is opaque because you can't see Strom's hand or Spider-Man's arm through it. I thought that was funny. But to me, it looks like this was intended to be a sniper shot that kills the guy, not a heart attack. Gun in the window, he falls over dead.
Comic codes.
The art says he was just shot.
His weak heart couldn't take it.
Yeah, the scripting says that his heart couldn't take getting shot.
What heart can?
No, I think this is one of those things where
Spider-Man killed him. He shoves him to the ground. He probably
my spine.
Oh, it must have been a heart attack. Yeah, let's go with that.
That's why there's blood all over the floor.
No, really, yeah. This is like a clear. This is like I think Steve Ditko also had a thing when in the Question comic book where he in the original Charlton comics Question punches the guy off who has some kind of, and the dialogue makes it seem like the guy jumped off, but it's clear the Question killed him. So I think it's an instance of somebody being killed rather than just I'm dying.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Weird. I guess if it's ambiguous, it's probably easier to get past the comic code than if it's explicit.
Well, they don't make it ambiguous. So this is he's dead. It looks like a heart attack. How does it look like a heart attack exactly? Can you feel the numb hand of someone else?
Well, no, that's a pretty straightforward assumption, though. If you're just going about your business and somebody collapses dead, a heart attack is a pretty safe guess.
You're like, it looks like a heart attack. Oh, and there's blood pooling from his chest.
It could be a brain aneurysm, or it could be their spleen, but heart attack is what I'd go with, too.
He did make a poop face before he died.
Oh, okay.
Yes, he did. He's trying to pitch a loaf, and he just can't do it.
Well, like everyone knows that Frederick Foswell's a certified nurse.
Oh Lord.
I mean, that's how he could diagnose. He's like, he looks like a heart attack. God, I bet you that like Comics Code was like, we can't have it be a gunshot. You can leave the gun in there, but make him die of a heart attack because he got scared of the gun. Yeah, that's much less violent.
Hasn't there been issues in the past where somebody gets shot to death? I mean, not by the police.
Bennett Brandt.
Bennett Brandt.
Uncle Ben, of course.
Yeah, and then Max, young, runs up to Spider-Man, him in the chest. I hate you, Spider-Man. I hate you till the day I die. You can't mean that.
You know what you're saying.
You can't mean.
But I seriously think that that's the whole reason that Norman is like caressing his shooter here in the next page, is because
his gun. You mean?
Yeah, is because he fired that thing off at Strom, and he's all happy about it.
Stop it, John. Just stop it.
Sorry.
Oh God.
Innuendo man.
Okay, so here's another thing to notice. Spoiler alert, but like next page, after Spider-Man's like, well, I'm getting out of here. There's nothing more for me to do. When we see Osborn again, he's getting dressed. Why is he getting dressed?
He just shot up the shooter.
No, but.
That was way too easy.
Oh.
That was way too easy. Okay.
Oh my.
I don't know.
Like he's putting on his tie and his jacket. Like you can see his hands.
And he's in the room with J. Jonah Jameson, right?
Oh,
No,
J.
Jonah
Jameson
Jameson comes to visit him.
He comes to
because,
visit him there.
It's his duty as a fellow club member, as if like.
So are you suggesting that he might have been on a certain flying apparatus in the previous page, and maybe wearing somewhat abnormal clothing?
Well, maybe. Maybe.
Can you imagine the Green Goblin taking a rifle, though? I mean, I just don't really see that as a Green.
Yeah, JR mentioned that, and it's definitely Norman Osborn-esque because Norman's identified. He's now identified as a supervillain on his own without a costume identity, but Green Goblin-esque it isn't. So
Right.
I don't know.
But what is Green Goblin-esque at this point in time?
Pumpkin bombs,
Halloween,
sonic toads,
What's
ghost
with that
clouds.
crazy panel where Jonah's all red?
Yeah.
The evil Jonah.
That's he's covered in the blood.
The Mega Jonah.
So Harry, like an excited little boy, like he finally has something important to tell his dad. He like runs to the door. Dad, Mr. Jameson is here. He has some good news for you. I know. I heard it on the radio. They caught Professor Straub. He was found dead. Stupid kid.
How I hate him.
I added that last part. I mean, he was probably thinking
Stuff.
off. So J. Jonah Jameson, arrives to provide, the closing plot exposition about how, it was your ex-partner all along. He can't bother you. And then Osborn, feigning shock. The poor devil. I had forgotten all about him.
Right.
So,
he was the first guy you thought of when somebody blew up your plant. Oh, it was Strom.
Yeah. So after Jonah leaves, Norman takes out his shooter. Spider-Man almost ruined everything for me, but it won't happen again. Now that his suspicions have been
Aroused.
He must be disposed of.
I'm only the
And then you can hear like the dun 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 from the 90s series.
What is this yellow flowy thing that Peter is wearing in this issue?
It's a pimpin' vest. That's what it is.
I'll may probably sewed it for him.
Do people wear things like that, like flowy vests?
Okay, now this I think is the clothes he wears in Marvels, and the issue where he delivers pictures of the looter to the Daily Bugle.
They
So
really
he could've been
make
doing-
Spider-Man look bad.
Maybe. I don't know. It's just weird. I would never wear anything like that, but I guess they wore different things in the 60s. Turns out, crazy stuff happened back then.
Well, I like it. I think it's pretty happening. Daddy-o.
More happening
cat.
than his blue suit. So he's walking down the street. He's walking down the street, very, very confused. I couldn't have imagined it. There was someone at that window with a gun. And then the college kids are at some nearby thing, and they like Peter styling, yellow thing, unlike John. So, they like it enough that they want to invite him to go bowling, but he ignores them because he's too caught up in his own thoughts again. But there could be another answer. What if I'm losing my spider sense?
No, that's
You
not it.
saw the gun, okay? That doesn't mean you're losing your spider sense. It means you're losing sight, you idiot. It could mean the beginning of the end for Spider-Man. I'd bet nothing about it. So, he's too good for us, huh? Guy like him don't want to know anybody. They'd rather go around without a care in the world. Without a care in the world, he's got the weight of the world on his shoulders. They don't know what they're saying.
People are stupid.
Especially ESU people. It's like if someone doesn't hear you, then like it automatically means that they're a snob.
Hey, I have an idea. Walk up and tap him on the shoulder. Hey, buddy, want to play with us? Instead of saying, "Oh, well, clearly he's ignoring us. Come on, guys. Oh, yeah, he's ignoring us. What a snob. High five."
Oh, he was listening to his iPod. Well, that was a misunderstanding.
His invisible and futuristic iPod.
To me, this is kind of the last. I know that Ditko has one more issue, but there's so little of any import that happens that issue. To me, this is kind of like Ditko's last stamp on the mythology.
Yeah, next one,
you could go straight from this into 39.
And he wanted to leave Peter wearing that outfit.
Right.
Just for you.
Just for me. But as such, I think
that's the end of the issue. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That was the end. That's why I'm going.
Spoiler alert, the issue ends.
The rest of the pages are ads.
Whoa! Check it out.
Yeah.
And despite Strom's mild case of death, this is actually not his final appearance.
No, it is not.
This issue sets up a lot lot of mythology.
It really does.
Oh, yeah, it does. Are you talking about Strom or other things?
Lots of things.
Strom,
I mean, mostly
Osborn?
Strom, yeah.
Okay, yeah, he comes back in the Spectacular Spider-Man 233 in 1996.
He came back before that, but it was like a robot of him. Like, there was a 1980 Spectacular issue where it was like as if Strom had returned from the dead. This was during Bill Mantlow's time. I want to say Spectacular Spider-Man 68.
Okay, I'm not that far yet. I'm in the early 50s, mid or late 50s. His assistant Max Young shows up even earlier in the Amazing Spider-Man 370 of 1992.
Really? I thought that since they gave him a name, it was a character some goofy writer would say, "Huh, let's do that again." I thought there was somebody to bring back, but I never knew that he actually did.
There's a story called The Invasion of the Spider Slayers, and they actually bring back a new version of the Amoeboid robot.
I remember. Yeah,
I did remember that. Yeah.
Yep, and they make reference to this issue, and I just looked. It is Spectacular Spider-Man issue 68.
Peter Parker.
Vengeance cries the Robot Master.
Yeah, it's the robot version of the Robot Master. And, they later retcon behind the scenes that like that little incident made Norman Osborn decide to dig up Strom's body and see that he was still alive, and we find out in a few months that Strom's the guy that according to the Osborn Journal, we find out in a few months that it was Strom that created the Goblin formula, and that's it up. So in the Spectacular in the 90s Spider-Man animated series and in the movie, they included Strom in there.
But in the 90s show, for some reason, they called him Mordell Strom than Endel Strom. I don't know why.
Yeah, so I mean, the Strom and his relationship with Osborn, that's there's a lot of mythology from that, and Strom, my God, I think in current continuity he's on a computer disc now because there was a whole euthanasia issue.
Yeah, Paul Jenkins issue, which is I really enjoyed, but he's left there.
He wanted Spider-Man to kill him, but he downloaded him onto a disc instead.
I'll never stop trying to free you, Strom. All right, see you.
Yeah, that
was in 1999.
Dude, there's a Star Wars book where the father of one of Luke's dead girlfriends gets frozen in carbonite, and Luke swears at the end of that book that he'll free him from carbonite if it's the last thing he'll do. And then the next issue, it's not mentioned at all, and then it's never been mentioned again.
You don't say.
He's saving it for the last thing he does.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
So really, again, with the issue with the comics code, the last 2 pages, not only does it look like the only thing is the dialogue is that he had a heart attack, but you can literally have the rest of the issue play out because Osborn's holding the gun to remind you, "Oh yes, I shot him." And he says, "Yes,
you're right.
Dead."
Everything in the art says he shot the guy.
And really, no, the only thing that says he didn't get shot was Patch's one word balloon saying heart attack. Everything else says, he was found dead. Strom's dead. Dead.
And the whole thing about Peter wondering if he imagined the gun. I mean, if you heard a rifle shot, you wouldn't be wondering if you imagined.
Yeah, you can say not only was there a gun, but who was the shooter is in the arts. Not Was there a gun? I don't know. But like, who shot the gun? I couldn't see the shooter. So this just screams that he got shot. I can't take it.
Maybe it may have been Comics Code. Maybe there was a reason that they did that. Maybe there was a puff of smoke coming out of the gun on one panel. They had to erase that because of the code.
Working too hard can give you a heart attack.
I used to have the Comics Code actually memorized.
well, Josh, you want to know by now.
I did that for a project I did in 12th grade, and I actually knew all the rules of the Comics Code, and I don't remember anything about you can't show people getting brutally murdered. Well, you can. You couldn't do that, but I'm pretty sure you could have people shot, but I don't remember. So I have to.
You just can't get back up and walk around again.
Or turn into a robot guy in the 90s.
He was like a decomposed corpse when he came back.
So looking at the issue as a whole, I was going back to the first splash page. I mean, we're talking about the action figures and everything, but that kind of reminds me of the like Galactus looming over the Fantastic Four from issue number 49. That cover.
Oh,
except that Galactus didn't have Toxic Avenger eyes.
Yeah, I lied. That's not Ned Leeds action figure because he's not in this issue. That's probably Flash Thompson.
Those are Toxic Avenger eyes. That's really funny.
I like this image though. I think it's pretty cool. It's pretty creative.
I like how the Gwen action figure has books.
Like she can read.
She looks like such a nerd. This Gwen figure. Very good.
And Patch is like strolling, and Jonah's action figure has a cigar.
Speaking of Jonah's cigar, if you go to page 4, panel 4, look at the cigar there. It's got this weird tip on it, and the way he's holding it, his mouth.
Is that okay, it looks like a nipple. But no, it's panel 5 too.
It cigar has a little nipple on the mouth end of it. I guess he's using...
Actually,
do they use those?
Maybe he's smoking Black and Milds.
I've never seen him use one before, but they have those little things, right, that you can grip the cigar with, so you're not chewing the cigar?
Yeah, those have been around.
That's weird. I've never seen him use one of those before.
That scene, though,
he's using it in that red panel, too, that's at the end of the issue.
Like, in that scene, though, Jameson refuses to pay Peter because, clearly my secretary left because of you. He can't do that.
No, he can't.
He says that the records are messed up because, like, Betty's gone, like, including, like, the records for, like, how he's supposed to pay Peter. So, if Peter's not getting paid because of this record mess up, I'm of the belief that there's no way that Peter's the only one that's suffering because of this. So basically, because Betty left the Bugle without giving any notice, and the record's in disarray, the Bugle staff isn't getting paid because Betty Branch, couldn't bother to fix everything up before she left. Way to go, Betty. I hope that there's no Bugle employees that have, like, children in the hospital for leukemia or something. Actually, money ain't going to help for leukemia.
Well, if we were the opinion that Robbie Robertson actually was working on this time, and he did have a stillborn child, or maybe a child that died. Maybe it died because they didn't have enough money to pay for medicine.
Wow. So the death of Robertson's child is Betty Brant's fault? Is that what we're saying?
That's exactly what we're saying.
Like, these Bugle people who can, like, barely make ends meet, it's... Thank you, Betty. Thank you for quitting without giving 2 weeks' notice, without getting your records in order. You're a class act. Oh, and why did you quit? Oh, because 2 men were in love with you, and it was giving you nightmares. Poor baby.
No recommendation letter for you.
Josh is still squeezing the blood from his fist after issue 30.
Like, seriously, how can you... How? No, like, how can you defend this woman's actions? Like,
I'm not trying.
No one's defending her. It's just funny how much you like to go after her.
What is up with Spider-Man's back spider in this issue? Did you guys notice? It's all long
and skinny.
Yeah,
he did that though.
Did he?
Yeah, he did that.
You guys would know. I would. I haven't read all of these up to this. So
he changed the way he did the spider because it didn't used to be like this.
It used to be blue for some reason, apparently. But I've seen him draw like this before. It's not a new thing.
Okay.
I'm just flipping through an earlier issue now just to see if I can get a look at Spider-Man's back. Turns out that that's not as easy as said.
Very nice, muscular back.
His smooth, rippling back.
Okay, so I want somebody to, take the reenactment of Gwen, looking at Namor's, army invading the city from Marvels, and Philip shielding Gwen, the ultimate innocent and then, all of a sudden, the sound of the record screeching, and then, the scene of Gwen slapping Peter.
Wait, you want to splice Alex Ross's Marvels with Steve Ditko's Amazing?
Hell yes. This is the one.
Are you trying to make it look bad? I like the little green creature in this one. Just as a design, I think it's really bizarre, and it kind of stands out.
Yeah. It's what makes this cover always look weird to me. It's like, oh, the hokey amoeboid robot.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it stands out in your brain as a design.
Yeah, you can. It really wants to be animated.
It does.
I'd love to animate that thing walking and killing. There's not enough animated killing.
I'm trying to think of which panel of Gwen Stacy is scarier. The one from the Lunar issue. Because I have this issue, I'm flipping back and forth, or the one on the. I can't. This woman. Oh my god! I can't look at it anymore. I'd much rather look at Betty crying than Gwen Stacy staring into the fourth wall with her glinting eyes.
You're looking at that one on page 6, aren't you?
Page 6 and page 14 of issue 36.
Issue 36?
The Lunar one. I'm flipping back and forth to those panels where she just like stares into the thing with burning hate.
Oh wow, that's pretty intense too. Yeah. Okay, that's scary. Let's think about something else.
Well, yeah. Speaking of Gwen, reading from my the Gwen articles, the notes that I had for behavior this issue, it's interesting that Peter acknowledges how Gwen has been drooling over him. We have been given no indication that Peter was ever aware of it. Although if someone has a crush on you, over time you do notice those little things, but perhaps Peter didn't know what he was talking about. Either way, it struck a nerve with Gwen. That meant that in her mind, that not only had he noticed her, but he still chose to spurn her feelings, which, probably pisses Gwen off even more, because all this time she thought, oh, well, he's just ignoring me.
Oh, poor
Also,
spurned Gwen.
When Peter actually says, anyone tell you you're gorgeous when you're angry, she shuts up. And and then she starts defending him.
Yeah.
Oh, because as soon as she's recognized for her beauty, then everything's okay again.
Oh, well, let's put it that way.
But then Flash comes, so Gwen's gotta,
Peter must not have been looking at the same angry Gwen that we were.
Peter probably was just teasing or playing a bluff, not realizing the severity of what he said.
And Gwen always ignores Flash when he comes.
I think Peter was like just being really kind of laid back. I don't think he's like oh I'll just say she's gorgeous when she's angry without really thinking. I think she was just being easy breezy, laid back.
Well, I think that Stan was just forgetting, what he's already established, because Peter has had no indication that Gwen likes him over the past few issues. So when he says, when a fella drools over you.
A female drool, yeah. But, and also, she never brings up the fact that, he's a coward. She never brings that up again, which really annoyed me in the last issue.
Yeah, whenever he runs away during when the looter is raiding the museum and Peter runs out to be Spider-Man, and Gwen's like, oh, he must be a coward.
He didn't try and stop the looter.
Supervillain's attacking and he's running away.
Peter Parker, Galactus was attacking the city, and where were you?
Godzilla hit Tokyo while you were in Japan, and you flew away first.
What Peter needs clearly is Doris Evans. If Doris and Gwen would just switch places, all would be right in the world.
Yes.
That would be another case of the Marvel U exploding. But
hi, my name is Doris Evans.
But that comes back because in Conway's run, or the later half of, I think it was.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, we're
Flash arc.
Yeah, it was the end of Lee's run. Where Peter runs off, Gwen's like, no, everyone says you're a coward, and I won't believe it. Stay with me and prove that you're not a coward.
Well, Peter didn't help this by saying, Gwen, stay here. I got things to do. Right after an entire room exploded.
I'm gonna go make sure my iron's off. Bye.
You have fun in this exploding room. Yeah,
that was a fun issue.
Oh, Gwen. She's just an angry freshman here.
Peter is wearing this stylish yellow vest throughout this issue.
Yeah, I like the yellow vest in a way that I would never wear it. But
he's even wearing it with a different shirt.
I did notice how whenever he was doing his science, he took his vest off, and as he was leaving campus, he had it draped over his shoulder.
Because that's classy.
If you think this is stylish, you should see his stuff in the drug arc. He's straight up pimping those ones. This is like what Josh said. This is a backwards, very important issue, but as it stands, it's also entertaining because you are learning things about the established mythology right now, as well as stuff that they'll be important way down the road. So I think this is pretty. This is like one of those ones after the Master Planner where the majority of the issues are kind of nothing to write home about, but this one isn't. This one is a worthwhile issue.
I was having an exactly similar thought as you were talking, is that since Master Planner, you can't say all the issues could be just removed because there are follow-ups to some of the events, but This is the only one that's really worthwhile to the overall meta plot of the series. And it was good. The ads in this book, well, before I do the comic book ads, the inside cover ad of this book. Exclusive fun products by mail. Grow 7 monsters.
Yeah, I was looking at that. It's a great drawing.
Thrills and chills await you when you see 7 amazing plant creatures come to life. All 7 for only $1. So I don't know if they're like condensed sponges.
I bet that's what they are. Those little growy sponge things.
Yeah.
Like sea monkeys?
Maybe. It says 7 giant monsters in full glowing color grow fantastic plant hair alive before your eyes. Each grows up to several months.
Oh, that must be something else then.
Yeah, it's not a sponge thing then. It's something else.
It's like a chia pet.
It is a chia pet. It's a 1966 chia pet.
That's what it is.
Use your planting wand and your observation lens, an extra large supply of guaranteed live monster hair seeds. For $1 plus 25 cents postage. So that's pretty awesome. But the house ad page for this issue has 2 halves to it. On the top half, we see Fantastic Four 51, This Man, This Monster.
Oh, yes.
Where
my favorite title.
The Thing is once again fighting sadness over the fact that he can't be Ben Grimm anymore.
And that he has to buy such large underwear.
Right?
Is that the issue where there's like a fake Ben Grimm who sacrifices his life at the end?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have read that issue. I thought that's really good.
It is good. It's following up on the Galactus trilogy, which is pretty epic, and so it kind of brings things down to a more personal level with Ben. But they actually did the whole sad Ben thing quite a few times close together in that era, and I was getting kind of tired of it, but that's okay. There's also Fantasy Masterpieces 2, which reprinted the original Jack Kirby Fin Fang Foom story, and a couple other oldies from the Golden Age of Marvel. And by that we mean 1960.
A couple of years ago.
And it costs us nothing to produce this issue, so
we're going to charge you $0.25. But the lower half of the page has a big advert for the Daredevil book we just discovered. And don't miss this spectacular Spidey faces Daredevil in one of the most exciting issues of DD ever to hit the stands. It's that old-time Marvel magic, bolder, bouncier, and better than ever. So that's pretty cool. The pose for Spider-Man there is the one from the second annual cover that will eventually go up into the top left corner of the books.
Oh, yeah.
And the Daredevil pose is, I don't know exactly where that's from, and it's a pretty iconic Daredevil pose. And we have all the good stuff, like the Hypno Coin and Pac-Man's dad trying to get you to go into business, and there's the darling pet monkey, which I really want. That's all
Polaris
really good.
Nuclear Sub.
Do we have a Polaris Nuclear Sub in this one?
Yeah.
We so do! Yes, Polaris Nuclear Sub.
Die, everybody!
Over 7 feet long. Yeah, baby.
Big enough for 2 kids.
Oh, my.
Oh, no.
Sorry. There's your Lily in the other room. What does that mean, Daddy?
And John would tell her.
Shame.
Well, you see.
Check out the features. Seats 2 kids, rockets that fire.
For only $7. And it's a nuclear sub. I mean, let's not just give them a hand pistol. Let's not just give them, a hand grenade. Let's give them a nuclear sub to play with.
We want people to die. That's what we were advertising.
So, yes, awesome ads. And then in the Marvel Bullpen Bulletins, we have greater, groovier, goofier goodies than ever, gathered from the 4 corners of Marveldom. And here we have, how about that? Marvel Collector's Item Classics is such a thunderous sensation that you've been clamoring for more of the same. Well, you know us. We're not going to leave you faithful, frantic ones crying in the streets. And so, we're planning to make our former annual mag, Marvel Tales, also a bi-monthly, just like MCIC. We haven't set an on-sale date for it yet, but keep watching this column and your newsstands. It won't be long now. No, don't embarrass us with profuse thanks. We're glad to do it. It's a pleasure. Being kids at heart, we love playing with glue pots and scissors and cutting up old mags and pasting them together again with tender, loving care. And you know something? We enjoy looking back at these old neo-classics of a few years back ourselves. It's a blast to compare the stories and art with today's towering triumphs. Talk about nostalgia. Wow. So he's comparing 1960s art with 1960s art and thinking it's really awesome.
They were really high on themselves. Like even back then, it's like Marvel's 70th anniversary, which is always disputed for some reason. But even back then, like within months, they're like, "Look at our history."
But the reason that's pretty important for us is because Marvel Tales is the Spider-Man reprint book. So it is now being planned to move from an annual book to a bi-monthly book.
Yes, exactly.
And then we have an advert for the Daredevil books. Don't dare miss the first guest appearance in months of your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. He's co-starred in Daredevil number 16 on sale at the beginning of March. And you'll stand up and cheer when you see the brilliant interpretation that jazzy Johnny Romita gives to everybody's favorite web spinner. It's one of the high spots of an already sensation-packed comics season. And the last thing I want to bring, I'm not going to read all of it because it's kind of long, but let's see what we can do. Some loyal Marvelites have expressed concern over the fact that although we were once tolerant of our competition, we now seem to be openly critical of them. And we feel we owe you an explanation for this definite change of policy. In a nutshell, the situation is this. As you know, Marvel has spent years trying to upgrade the art of comic magazines, for an art it truly is, every bit as much as the cinema, the legitimate stage, or any other form of creative expression. We don't resent competition, indeed we welcome it, but we do resent shabby, carelessly produced, badly written and drawn, conscienceless imitations of our Marvel mags. Imitations which are callously lacking in quality, and which are produced for the sole purpose of making a fast profit in the very field which they themselves are helping to keep at the bottom of the artistic totem pole.
Whoa.
Ouch.
We've been flooded with indignant letters from readers who have bought issues of the various Brand X now on sale and have been shocked at the undisguised effort these opportunists have made to confuse the public into believing that their titles are the same as Marvel's. One such company has gone so far as to change its name and trademark so that the reader might think it truly is a Marvel publication.
What was that, Move Owl?
Yeah, do you know who he's talking about?
I don't. I imagine it's not DC. I don't know if it's Fawcett or Charlton or just say
Whitson.
No,
I have no idea.
Eddie.
But it's pretty harsh words here, and I'm thinking that the digs at DC are intended probably good-naturedly, but that there's lots of other lower-name comic companies that are doing things a bit more below the belt. But some of their digs at Brand X have come off pretty harshly, and so I'm just kind of surprised that he's actually coming out and saying, you know what, we have fun, but there's some real big jerks out there. So anyways, that was the Marvel Bullpen Bulletin for this issue.
I find that kind of annoying. I like the whole quote-unquote rivalry with comic companies. I find that kind of, I don't know, a waste of time. It's like, don't buy theirs, buy us. I mean, it's basically like the competition between two hot dog stands. So I don't know.
Yeah, I liked their initial approach where they were like, we try to put out the best product we can put out. We want you to buy our stuff, but at the same time, we're not going to put down another company. I really liked that approach. The other thing is that so many of the people are the same. That Jack Kirby was one and then he was the other. They pulled Johnny Romita off of DC's romances to put him on Marvel's superheroes. So you can't make fun of the other company because they're your same guys.
Yeah, exactly.
They have been or they will be. And then we have some merchandise that you can buy with the Marching Society. And in the Spider's Web, okay, this first letter describes a silly appearance of Spidey on television that I thought was kind of cute. Dear Stan, this is Chris Gorley writing from New York, New York, as opposed to the other New York and, Oregon.
Makes sense.
Yeah. As I was sitting in my living room after finishing a marvelous dinner and watching my boob tube, I got an interesting surprise. My co-idol with Spidey, Soupy Sales, was wrapping up his show with a man at the door scene. In it, the man knocked at the door and asked Soupy for help. Why, he said, my wife thinks she's Spider-Man. I thought to myself, it's got to be someone else. But the bit continues with Soupy asking the man why he didn't take his wife to a psychiatrist. Because, says the man, I can't get her off the cardboard. And he swings in one of your fantabulous pinups of Spidey mounted on cardboard. I thought it was a funny gag, but also Spider-Man's making it onto Soupy Sales, which was pretty neat. Evidently, Marvel got a whole lot of letters about that, too, when they saw it.
The Marvel Enterprise is growing. Soup cardboard.
Bill Dargan writes, Dear Stan, Spidey used to be number one on my list, but now I'll take the FF any day over Mr. Webspinner. I have enough worries of my own without seeing Spidey get so psyched out each month. First it's Betty, then it's Aunt May, next it'll be midterm exams. Why don't you just turn Juggernaut loose on Spidey and get it over with? That'll calm him down.
Okay.
Wait, like 200 issues?
200 issues later, great idea, Billy Boy. Spidey versus Juggernaut. Why didn't we think of that? I think you've commented on this, Josh, before, how towards the end of Steve Ditko's run, everyone was just getting more and more angry at each other, and life was just becoming a very sad place to be.
Dude, like, seriously, Gwen's like, Peter Fudge is like, I'm gonna get my hands on you. Norman's like, shut up. Norman's like, shut up, boy. And Jonah's like, Parker, Jonah was always angry.
I'm not paying you for no reason.
And then those college kids are like, Peter didn't even turn around as we called him from the streets. Parker!
Not only are they angry, but they're angry for the most dumbass reasons.
Yeah. So even the readers are starting to clue in on that. Here we have Fred Weiss Weiss, or some weird name, voting for Spidey unmasking to Dr. Connors. He thinks that Spider-Man should take him into his confidence, but then he loses points for referring to him as the Lizard Man.
Dr. Connors would leave and go to Florida, never see again. He would come back and they would just pretend it never happened.
He'll take him into his confidence, but it'll happen due to a continuity error off panel.
I know what you're talking about. With the what was that thing called anyway? Like, with the crazy cover.
Okay, yeah, like there was this weird.
When are y'all talking about?
I think is it Quality of Life? Was that
Yes.
that miniseries? Yeah, like where it's a Lizard miniseries where Martha Connors dies, and there's one panel where like Peter Parker sees Dr. Connors and he's like sorry about before, which was kind of like a vague thing, and Paul Jenkins is like, oh, okay, so Dr. Connors and Peter know who each other are, got it. So he did a Spectacular Spider-Man story, which was so bad that everybody's just like forgotten that it existed, where it was revealed that all along Dr. Connors was controlling the Lizard, and it wasn't like the Lizard was his dominant personality. Connors was just being a dick. They didn't even try and retcon that. They just like ignored it the next time that there was a story. They were like, Connors can't control the Lizard.
It's like the reboot origin. No one they just ignore it.
Yeah, but in that story, Connors and Parker were like talking in their civilian identities, and he knew who Spider-Man was. And Jenkins went online or in some interview saying that was a mistake of his because of the Quality of Life miniseries. He took that thread and ran with it.
In fairness, though, I don't think it's a bad idea because they've been allies for so long. I don't think that Connors knowing Peter's identity would hurt it at all.
Right. I mean, and he's known him as Peter too because of graduate school and such.
Right.
In the 90s series, he eventually found out because they had a test to see which one was the real clone and which one was Ben Reilly.
What?
Yeah. Do you remember when Ben Reilly's giving his a flashback? The only one we could turn to is Dr. Kurt Connors, and he's unmasked as the Scarlet Spider. So at some point, he reveals his identity to Dr. Connors.
Oh, okay. I guess. I never really thought about that.
Again, this is me having not seen the 90s animated series yet.
It's crap. Don't look at it.
But you would think that 25 episodes...
I'm kidding.
But you think after 25 episodes of this show, I would have finally gotten around to sitting down to watch it, but no, I haven't. Closing out the letters column, Richard Gonzalez and John Mumos of Laredo, Texas, I have a friend there, they want to know more about Peter's parents. So I wrote them a letter and said, be patient, guys, only 2.5 more years to wait. And there's one...
They want to know if he has a sister, too.
Yes. Does he have a sister? Does she have spider powers?
Where does that come from, him having sisters?
I don't think it does.
Everyone knows this. Peter Parker has sisters.
You have a twin sister. Your feelings have now betrayed her, too.
Did you say betrayed horror, too?
Yeah.
We're clear on that.
It's Betty Brandt.
Oh, how ironic.
Oh.
My sister, my lover.
But we slept together that one time, and Peter, I knew you had a secret.
A deep, dark secret lurking within him.
Well, so did you.
So the Page House Mob from California Institute of Technology writes, Dear Stan, what have you done? All these years, we of Caltech have assumed that when the greatest hero of all time graduated from high school, he would naturally go to the greatest college in the universe, Caltech. But if you weren't the greatest story writer of all time, we'd say you made a grave mistake. Empire State University? No, 1,000 times no. And I'm being all dramatic because they're typing in caps. They go through and talk about how Caltech would be awesome for Spider-Man, and nowhere in the letter do they mention that ESU is not real.
There you go, Josh. In your eye.
Still not real.
It's still not real. Next-ish warning, it's going to be a real kooky one. Our extra powerful supervillain is a brand new pussycat. Also, you'll see the mysteriously sinister Mr. Osborn again, as our strange little plot grows ever more absorbing. To sum it up, Spider-Man number 38 is going to be another Marvel milestone issue, and we'll cry ourselves to sleep if you miss it. So keep your webs untangled and face front. We'll be looking for you next-ish.
There's only one reason why it's a milestone issue, and it has nothing to do with the content of the fictional story.
Yes.
If Mary Jane shows up.
Yeah, but that's not...
Ginormous Gazungas.
Yeah, she is sort of in a nice profile shot there, isn't she?
Ned Leeds comes back.
Ooh, Ned Leeds comes back. Well, that obviously is the zinger that's going to make you want to come back for more Amazing Spider-Man classics coming your way in about 10 days. Next episode, we are going to have the second half of the Daredevil story in Daredevil number 17. And then we will have the final issue of Steve Ditko's run on Amazing Spider-Man with issue number 38. Jim will be returning with us to look at those issues, and I invite you to come back and check them out with us. If you want to send us an email, let us know what you think about the show. We will be doing an email segment very soon. The email address is amazingspidermanclassics@gmail.com. Just about every email that we receive does make it on the air, so if you want to have your comments addressed, please feel free to write. You can also contact the show by going to our website, amazingspiderman.libsyn.com, and leaving a comment on the show posting there. If you want to stay in steady communication with the show, feel free to check us out on Facebook. There's a link from the website, amazingspiderman.libsyn.com. You can like us there, post on the wall, get updates when new episodes are released, and all that sort of fun sort of thing. Look for next episode on or about the 20th of the month. And until then, my name is John Wilson, and thank you very much for listening to Amazing Spider-Man Classics in association with SpidermanCrawlspace.com. Good night.
Spider-Man does whatever a spider can. Spins a web any size, catches thieves just like flies. Look out, here comes the Spider-Man. Is he strong? Listen, bud, he's got radioactive blood. Can he swing from a thread? Take a look overhead. Hey there goes the Spider-Man. In the chill of night, at the scene of a crime, like a streak of light, he arrives just in time. Spider-Man, Spider-Man, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Wealth and fame, he's ignored. Action is his reward to him. Life is a great big bang up. Wherever there's a hang up, you'll find the Spider-Man.
I have got 2 glasses of water, a Dr. Pepper, and some whiskey.
Sounds like you're ready.
I wanted to have all my beverage options available. Yeah, that was before the internet.
That was before Josh and Don. When were y'all born?
85.
89.
Oh, wow.
It was almost before Don. You were born in 89?
I didn't know we were the old ones on here.
Tell me what it was like when everything was in black and white.
We started reading, the first Spider-Man comic that I bought was cover dated November 1990.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It matched his yellow streak. What an insult that is.
Oh, that's totally the sort of thing that he should have said, too. Oh, he did say it there. What am I talking
about?
As a matter of fact.
I'm just going to edit that out and make myself sound smart. Don made the good joke.
I don't know. I ruined the joke, but yeah.
It's okay. I have not seen very much Family Guy because my wife doesn't like to watch it, which means I don't get to watch it very often.
Oh, did you leave your vagina in your purse? That doesn't even make sense. I should say, did you leave?
Yeah.
We'll try that again. Let's do a second take.
No, I'm good.